Hello, 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 everybody. I'm Kathie J. Thanks so much for joining me today. Some days I'm on the couch talking to people at the couch. Look, I thought it was like my old show. It's like memory, everybody. Sometimes I'm on the chairs hanging out, talking to guests, and sometimes I just like to hang out and talk to you. So today we are doing that. I'm going to hang out and talk to you about Romania because no better time like now. It's October, Halloween, and Romania is where Transylvania is, and Transylvania is where Dracula is from. And I got to go there this year. So a couple months ago, I got to go there. It was during the summer solstice. So I was there on the longest day of the year. Like, how amazing is that? I get to be in Romania in like where Dracula is from, the summer solstice. It was beautiful, but it couldn't have happened without my girlfriend, Anca. I love her to death. She's one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. And it was her birthday, and she's from Romania. And since I was a kid, I've always been in love with Dracula. I've always been fascinated. These are all my personal books, my collection. This one never got returned to the elementary school. But I've always been fascinated with vampires and Dracula and Romania. I was fascinated with the country, the history of Romania. So I kind of like manifested Anca to become my friend, and I know her through working with the Down Syndrome Foundation, the Global Down Syndrome Foundation. So the Kathie J Show, when they first started years and years ago, I was one of the first that got to do PSA shows with them, and I just became such good friends with Anca and Michelle and so many people of the Global Down Syndrome Foundation. So to my family over there. And Anca was like, you know what? My daughter is going to be going to high school in Romania. I'm going to go home and hang out. And so I was like, yes, if you're having your birthday, count me in. So she actually pulled it together and had a birthday out there. And a lot of us went from the States. A lot of us went from over there, her family, friends, a lot of people from the States and Romania. It was amazing. She created this whole little tour. It was the coolest thing, the coolest way to see Romania. So let's talk about Romania because as I said, I've loved Romania and Transylvania and Dracula since I was a kid. Since I was a kid. I've been wanting to go forever, and all I really knew about Romania was, that the people looked like they dressed like they were peasants. They had peasant kind of clothes on. The ladies had the handkerchiefs around, and they were herding goats or something, and Dracula flew in at night and took somebody. Like, that's what I really knew about Romania, the visual. But I knew the history of Romania, the fact that they were actually ruled by kings and queens for most of their rule, like their country, their establishment, whatever. They have their own oil in Romania, so they don't need to go outside for that. They have really good soil. They have different parts of the country that are good, so that they have 4 seasons. It's a beautiful country, Romania is. And they were on their own doing good. They had kings and queens and royalties and castles and lineage that, sometimes it was Scottish, sometimes it was German, that their royalty had that led their country. And they had money. They were doing good. And all of a sudden, like, communism. One of their kings. During World War II had German bloodlines, and his wife was like, "We're not going to be with the Nazis, so we're not going that way." And they didn't side with the Nazis, and by doing that, they kind of were there like sitting ducks. And Russia came down and said, "Well, Mother Russia welcomes you," and pulled them right in, took all of their money of their economy, took it to the bank in Russia, and like melted their statues of their kings and queens, turned it into Lenin and Stalin and communism statues, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I want to get back to Romania in and of itself, the countryside. It's beautiful. And yes, the peasants, like, it's really cool. I didn't know this. We see just the white blouses, but the colors represent different parts of the country. If it's a rooster, it represents a different lineage. Like, there's ways that they all communicated in their country, and I just think it's beautiful. And so the country in and of itself, Anca showed me so much of it, and she taught me so much of it that I didn't know, because I only knew the countryside, like, from, through the Dracula rule, like he was there, the Ottoman Empire. We'll get to Dracula. But I only knew that kind of history. So to learn the history through Anca and through communism, communism was between 1948 and 1989 in Romania. And they before that, they were free. They had kings and queens. They had beautiful churches in their cities. It was amazing what they had. Like, The city of Bucharest, if I could tell you anything, I would say definitely travel there. I felt very safe. I loved the architecture. I loved the history of the buildings. And because there were so many different kings because the kings and queens had different lineages of their heritage, or because they traveled or they wanted to pay homage to Queen Elizabeth, whatever they did throughout their history of their reign, they would do all these cool little gifts throughout their city. This part looks exactly like Paris. This part looks like Berlin. This part looks like what it might be in Germany. It's really cool going around Bucharest. So I would say definitely travel to Bucharest. They have great food when it comes to their food. I enjoyed everything that they had. They're all about the meat. They're all about potatoes and bread, farm life, and fresh food. So much fresh food. The biggest difference between American food and the food that I ate in Romania was definitely the food in America is filled with preservatives. Like when we go to a restaurant, that food is cut open from a bag, it's flash cooked, cut open from the bag and slid onto a plate and brought out to us. In Romania, it's literally the farm to table, okay? And that's how they eat day in and day out. So they don't have preservatives. They don't have sawdust in their cheese, that kind of stuff. And so everyone there is kind of healthy, even though they eat huge portions and they get down. But they didn't get down with the sugars like we do. They didn't get down with the preservatives. They got down with straight, just healthy food, But we went somewhere to eat outside of Dracula's castle, and it was like a pork knuckle that somebody ordered, and the pork knuckle was like here to here, just sitting on a huge thing of mashed potatoes. And I was like, oh my gosh, the portions are huge. Don't get it twisted. Huge portions, but it's healthy food. There's nothing crazy in there that's going to go in and just, cause cancer. Huge difference. And that was everywhere over there. They even said they don't really eat. They don't cook. They actually order out all the time. But their Grubhub is totally fresh food coming from the fresh restaurants. So it's totally different in how our bodies feel and act and eat. And so anyways, I would say go to Romania because it's a great city. Also, the travel there was easy, nonstop to Germany, and then I went right in, and this was my first time going international, so I did it. I went with my best friend, Christopher, who, by the way, everybody, was my high school sweetheart, who, by the way, he is the husband of Larry Ulibarri, who did the morning show all those years. So my high school sweetheart became Larry Ulibarri's husband, who I was with them on the morning show all those years. So it was a total Will and Grace situation, but I love Christopher. We were best friends. And then, I think the high school sweetheart thing was confusion of us. And, just what are you supposed to do when we got along so well. Our friendship has lasted all these years. So he was a flight attendant. Nobody to travel the world with better than him. He's been everywhere. He speaks the languages. He's got the Uber. He's got everything. So I was like, we're going to Romania. Isn't it funny how I didn't even think to ask my husband? I was like, you're going to have to stay here with the kids. I'm going to have to go to Romania with Chris. So I took Chris and we went, and also how easy it is to get there and travel. Also, the language. They speak English. So many people there speak English. They actually speak 4 or 5 languages. Of course they do, right? Everyone, when they say citizens of the world, for the first time, I actually got to know what that meant. People in Romania, people in Europe, people that don't live in America, they are citizens of the world because they live so close to each other. They have to hear each other's languages, cultures, and try to get along. And so when you're eating something, you're recycling with it, you're thinking about things a lot differently over there, and they do. And it's just been how it's been generationally in their head on how they live. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I really... Anyways, citizens of the world. It was nice to be in Bucharest and Romania, and thank goodness a lot of them spoke English, and everyone was very nice. And this is so one time we went and had a really nice restaurant lunch, and it was we got an appetizer, we each got a nice meal, we each got a dessert, we each had a drink, and it was $48 total with a tip. So I'm saying travel to Bucharest. It was cool. So anyways, one of the other things, Romania has the largest building in the world. It's bigger than our Pentagon. It's their parliament. And it has 8 floors below it. If there's a nuclear thing, you can get in there and you're going to be fine. 8 levels below. There was actually a car show done where they raced under the tunnels of the parliament in Romania. And we went and took a tour, and it was so long. It was like the Poltergeist hallway that just kept going and going. I've never seen a bigger building. It was amazing. So in addition to all that, on the tour, I got to learn about the communism, and then we're going to get to Dracula and the party, okay? So this is the coolest thing that I've ever learned, okay? You know how one person, if you have a talent, you never know when that talent's going to be called? During the communist era, when it was starting, and they were coming in and saying, Romania, we're about to have all of you come out of your villages. You're going to get into the city. We're going to put you in these flats. We're going to take away your independence. Each of you, each household is going to get oil and flour once a month. You're coming to get it. Like, they truly stripped these people of their independence. I mean, that's what communism is, right? And so they were coming in and putting these flats up, the huge flats, you know, that you see in movies, you know, the big, tall, ugly buildings. I think there's a commercial where a chick is like putting a bunch of flowers out on the balcony of one to try to, like, you know, to get it, you know, anyways, to have some creativity and independence. That's what I was trying to say. We stayed in one of those. But when they were starting to build them, all of the beautiful churches, all of the Christianity, all of the lessons, the walls, everything, they were being destroyed by the communists because they were like, we don't need this. We want these buildings. And so if something was in the way, they tore it down. And so Romania was just being destroyed, right? Or Bucharest, the city of Bucharest. And so literally a man with a talent who was an architect, he came in and said, you know what? And he wasn't from Romania. He came in and said, I can help you move these churches. We're going to lift them up. I created a railroad system. We're going to lift them up. We're going to do a pulley kind of system, and we're going to move the churches as far as we can out of the way of the buildings being built. How amazing is that? He saved so many churches. In fact, the place I stayed at, my Airbnb in Bucharest, I chose something right in the heart of Bucharest. Awesome place. It was an Airbnb. It was a flat. It actually was one of those communist flats. So the place I stayed was nice, the little room, the little apartment, but the building was definitely scary. Like the elevator that I was in was like, ooh, it was about the size of this column right here. And I had my suitcase, and Chris was squeezed in with me, and we were squeezed in. And it was terrifying going up to the 7th floor. But outside, getting into that elevator, into that building, there was the most beautiful church. And I had to walk behind the building, through an alleyway, through some pigeons, and there was the church hidden back there in the weirdest way to get to our entrance. Well, it was on the tour that we were on because that was an example of one of the churches that the guy helped lift up, move out of the way for the communist flat that I stayed in. Like, stuff like that is amazing, and that's why I went to Romania, to experience real history, like, oh my gosh, how amazing. And speaking of history, I totally forgot about these little guys. These guys, Romania goes so far back, even before the royal families and all that. Romania is such old ground that these guys were found in 1958 or in the 50s, and they are 7,000 years old. Okay, not these guys. These obviously are replicas. But the real guys are this size. They were found where there was about 400 graves. So they say that man, 7,000 years ago, built these and left them there. And this one they call the thinker. This one is sitting woman. Why they always got to give the ladies big hips? Why they always got to give us big hips? But anyways, and why do they always got to make the guy look like he's so disappointed to be with us? Like, even back then, 7,000 years ago, I think they say a lot, don't they? But I just think so. 5,000 BC, this is what was happening in Romania. And then we have everything up leading up to, you know, how beautiful the countryside is, and they have their own economy, and all of a sudden communism comes in and takes it. And here's the other thing. When communism fell in 1989, Romania was like, hey, Russia, can we get all those billions of dollars back? And Russia was like, I don't know what you're talking about. We didn't take any money from you. You're crazy. And then that's why the country's bankrupt, and they've taken so long to try to get back. So their middle class is right now having, an up-and-comer, which is awesome for them and awesome. So, all right, let's talk about why I went. Anca and the party. So my girlfriend, Anca, I've known her for a while. She's amazing and awesome. Had a big party on the summer solstice. I go out there for her birthday, and we take the tour bus. She takes us everywhere, but her birthday party was amazing. It started on the lake. That's right. We got to go out on the lake, and then we had some drinks, and then we went in, and we had the best food. We danced. She had traditional dancers. They came out and did all the different dances from the different corners of Romania and the different folksy areas. And it was just awesome. And I got to be one of the people that was doing this. And it was just so loving and so warm and so awesome and fun. And they dance and they sing until the early morning and they get down. And I guess can't say enough. And I met some amazing people who have traveled here to the States. And we talked about them being communists. And we talked about all of that and freedom. And I'm just going to say this before we go to Dracula's castle. Anca, happy birthday. I loved every single second of it. It was amazing. Thank you so much for inviting me. And Chris and I had the best time. So I can't, the experience will last with me forever. Okay, so now let's move on to Dracula. Dracula. So here we go. Dracula, everybody. Dracula. On my shirt, this is actually Dracula. This is Vlad the Impaler. Now, Vlad the Impaler, he was a king. And he ruled a part of the country near the Turkish border up in that area. And his castle's up there. He has a castle that he was born in and lived in. Then there's the castle that gets called Dracula's Castle, which is the one we went to, because it's the one that was used in the Dracula story. So Vlad, the real guy, is different from that guy in the sense that, he's not real. This guy was real, and this guy was pretty powerful. Because he was a king, the Turks and the Ottoman Empire came in, killed some of his family. He was a slave. He escapes. He figures out how to get going. Of course, he seeks revenge on the Ottoman Empire. It turns into bloodthirst for anyone that gets in his way, whether it's someone that's on his own side, the Turks, whoever it is, he's going for blood, killing the Ottoman Empire, right? And this is in 1448, and it goes through 1462 is when he did impaling. So that's where the whole Dracula thing comes. So he literally, he was down in forces. And they say that he sold his soul to the devil and, or the darkness, and he got the power to win over the Ottoman Empire coming in and the Turkish Empire. And what he did was his smaller army, when they killed him, they impaled him and they put him everywhere. So imagine being somebody walking, you're the soldier, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, their forest looks pretty crazy. That's Oh, and then you hear men moaning because they weren't dead when they impaled him. So Vlad the Impaler got his name for a reason, but it was all in the name of Romania and his country that he loved. Can't you see the beauty of that? But so much, there's been the stories told about him, and I love the history tale stories on him, and I love all that. So he was anyone that was in his path, he was killing them. But then there's an actor, Bram Stoker, this author. He totally was traveling somewhere. He never even went to Romania. Isn't that crazy? And someone told him about the castle. They tell him about this ruler, Vlad, and he creates Dracula. And the story of him sucking blood and him, everything that we know about Dracula, the eyes and want to suck your blood and all that. So they do in Romania, I asked, Strogovi is what they call their vampires. And in there, the Strogovi, they do it to kind of scare kids, and it's like the Strogovi was more or less back in the day. If you were kind of not the nicest person while you were alive, you're going to kind of be a Strogovi when you die because you weren't a good person alive. So you would die. And if you died and people around you started dying after you died, they would dig you back up because they were like, something's going on. So if you were a bad person, you kind of got a before you were buried. So they didn't really ever Dracula, but the Transylvania is a real city, and it was awesome to go to. And I had Hungarian meat with a big ladle and big meat, and it was awesome. And it was incredible and everything that I hoped it would be. The castle was cool. There was a secret entryway that took you from the first floor to the fourth floor. It kind of got a little narrow and a little steep, but it was amazing to be up there and to see the countryside and to see history and to feel history. And also, Halloween, Dracula, oh my gosh. And I will say this, those mountains, those trees, those forests, they can look scary at night. And the houses and some of the villages, they look like little fortresses because they had to be at any moment. You could be attacked back in the day. So that's why they look all like that. So it does look like at any moment, Dracula's going to drop down. But it was amazing. I had the best time. And I'm going to let you go. So, yes, I got my cute stuff. I got my cute stuff. Even my daughter, I don't know where I got the shirt, but I have a, kisses from Transylvania, and it's the vampire thing. But if I could say anything, it's just to leave you with the fact that, man, if you have something on your bucket list, keep thinking and going for it, because to have this come to life, to be able to go with my friend, to meet new friends, and to celebrate a friendship that I've loved for so many decades. So to Anca and to Michelle and the people from Down Syndrome, thank you for so much for having me, and it was great to spend time with you. To Chris, my travel buddy and my best friend of my life, thank you so much for just being there. We had the best time. And I guess, I don't know, to just putting it out there in the universe. Things can come true, and we're here to live life and to explore life. And I think that the more respect that we go out into the world with, it brings it back. So it was a cool opportunity, and everyone travel to Bucharest, Romania. I know that's the craziest thing to say, but if you love Transylvania and Dracula and any of that, I say go for it. All right, because it was, all right. That's where I'm leaving you. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks so much, and happy Halloween. Happy Halloween.